Okay, so the Hangout is now on the air. Please let me know if there are any issues with hearing me.
I hear you well, Magdi. How are you?
Well, hello, Gonzalo. Very well. Nice to see you. I don't actually see you, but nice to be with you.
Yeah, this computer doesn't have a camera.
Yeah, it's okay. It's not a problem. Um, okay, so there is a question that you wrote, Gonzalo. I'm going to read it, and so we can look into it. It says, Magdi, I would like to comment on the following. As you know, the seeker looks for an answer here and there. So he or she goes around listening to all the teachers he or she can find, goes to satsang, every satsang, retreat. There is so all the retreat there is. So this seems to become an addiction to the spiritual seeking. Excuse me, and the entity as a seeker might get strengthened by this. Is it possible that by looking here and there, all of a sudden an awakening might happen and then liberation from the seeking? Up to what point the meeting of many teachers is important or not? May you comment on this and tell about your experience in the search. Okay. So Gonzalo, as a seeker, goes from satsang to satsang, from teacher to teacher, retreat to retreat, and all what is happening is that the seeker is getting strengthened, then I would say that the seeker is not going to the right sources, is not getting the correct guidance up to that point. So it's possible that the seeker will get frustrated because the goods are not being delivered, meaning peace and happiness, the shift, the dissolution of this seeking, of this me that's constantly missing and lacking. If that is not dissolving, that is not relaxing, that is not releasing, then it's possible that the seeker will just get frustrated and say, "The heck with this! I'm just gonna, just live my life. So forget about the spiritual search." And at that point, you will experience, in the person, the seeker, let's say, will experience further unhappiness in life. They will just go on living their life, but they will not get the goods either. They will not get the fulfillment that they're seeking from life. And if time allows it, and if grace favors shining in onto that mind, then the seeker will at some point in time find the correct guidance, the correct company, let's say, and will be guided to the end of their seeking. So the journey varies, from person to person. But I agree with you that the journey is not about just going from teacher to teacher, retreat to retreat to retreat to retreat. All this is part of the journey, but the real celebration is when you meet a teacher or you meet a friend that can lead you to the light, not just to ongoing seeking, but can speak directly to your heart and mind, and can bring you to an understanding, and can help you to come to the peace, which is the peace of the self, the innate peace of the self. That's really beautiful. When that occurs, that's really beautiful. Because then you're benefiting from the peace, the understanding of the teacher. And you, in a way, you end there. You don't need to, there isn't an after, there isn't a teacher after that, because the teacher will take you to the true source, which is the self, which is your very self. And then once the source, which is your very self, starts to reveal itself, the mind will surrender to that. Up till that point, the journey still has too much mind in it, too much thinking in it. Yes, it is also possible, Gonzalo, that there may be a sudden awakening. Actually, I would say all awakenings, meaning all insights, are sudden in that they're not at the mind level. But there is mind before that, in the contemplation, in the exploration, in the questioning. But it's a mind that is directed towards God, mind that is directed towards truth. But the insight, there are many insights, not just one insight. It's not just the awakening. There are many insights along the path that reveal various qualities of the self, that reveal its infinity, that reveals its eternity, that reveals its all-knowingness, that reveals its nothingness, that reveals its everythingness. And one could say that all the insights into the self are sudden. They're gradual, in that there is a contemplation, but the insight itself is sudden, meaning it's not in time. And yes, it is absolutely possible. So the meeting of many teachers is important in that it leads you to the teacher, the Sadguru. It leads you to the Sadguru. You may meet many teachers along the path, and with every teacher you resonate in one way or the other. There is some understanding that comes to you. And if there is a teacher after that, then that means the journey with that teacher only takes you up to that point. And then there is a next teacher that takes you to another level. But there is an ultimate teacher that with whom the journey ends. The journey meaning the seeking ends. And of course, the revelation of the self is unending. My experience in the search, to tell you about my experience in the search. I think maybe we talked about that when we met, Gonzalo. Maybe we did, maybe we didn't. I don't recall. I thought maybe we did. In my journey, there was, of course, like in everybody else's journey, grace, an unexpected awakening, an unexpected insight into uh, the illusory nature of the separate self. And simultaneously, a revelation of the grandeur and splendor of consciousness. Of course, I didn't put it in those words at the time because I did not know much about this lingo, the spiritual lingo. But this revelation completely shifted my life. And the rest of my journey was just a passion for that which is a reality that is beyond the form. Somehow that peek into it left a great impact, and my entire life has been dedicated and inspired by the revelation of consciousness. I'm not sure if there is more to say. There may be, but I think it's good enough. Yes, Gonzalo.
Yes, thank you for commenting on this. It's true that some people, after looking and going to many teachers, might get frustrated and then decide to quit. But more what I see is not that they quit, but they continue the seeking with the different teachers, different going to different sources. That's my experience. That's what I
Yeah,
see more and more.
sure.
But
That's yes.
what I wonder is like in the case of people who go, and I've been part of that in the past, going from one teacher to another teacher, and and having all the retreats and maybe there is a kind of I don't know, a celebration, some kind of joy, pleasure uh, in the in the assisting in the going to some of these spiritual gatherings. So people kind of I find that they look for kind of an inspiration from these from these meetings, being with some other people who are also interested in meeting friends there, and so it doesn't matter so much whom is there as a teacher or whom is the satsang, but more kind of a party, a spiritual party or whatever, right? And also, mm, once some of these people find or think that they had found the right teacher, uh, that doesn't mean that they stop looking for teachers, going to other satsangs. They still are in the seeking. So like as the seeking has its own energy,
Well,
even if
if you haven't, if you think you've met your teacher and you're still seeking other teachers, then you haven't met your teacher yet. Because
okay,
if you've met your teacher, pardon, if you've met your teacher and you're still seeking other teachers, then you haven't met your teacher. When you meet your teacher, then there isn't any other teachers that you're looking for.
yes, I can understand that because that must be like a a, a connection that is beyond what we have taught or whatever we have, understood in the mental level. It must be like a real connection. So at that moment, it must have everything else must just fall down, right? And you have the trust that with that teacher, that's is enough. There is no need to go to other teachers. What for? If you have found the one that you trust, that is going to help you all the way through the many travails. So I just was wondering about this thing because it's important for me, like
Mhm.
first finding the right teacher. I mean, the right teacher is not the right teacher for everybody. The right teacher is when you feel there is a right teacher for you, right? I mean,
Yes, of course. Yes, it's for you. But a
exactly,
teacher that has to touch your heart, and also a teacher that you feel drawn to, you feel happy with, you feel like you really like them, and you love them, you enjoy them, you enjoy being with them, you want to be with them, you want to explore your questions with them, you want to go for a walk with them, you want to be around them, you want to see how they live, you want to see how they act. It's
exactly. And
yeah.
as a good friend, I mean, like a good friend with, I think that a good friend, I mean, is someone who is there for sometimes that you need help, right? And a good teacher is a teacher who is helping you in the moment that you really need help. What is the help that you need from a teacher friend like that? Well, to get to understand what is our true nature, right? This is the biggest help that we can get from a
Yes, yes.
friend.
With your teacher brings you to happiness. It's a path to happiness,
Right.
and it's not a dependency. It's a love. When you love, there isn't dependency. It's just love. There's freedom in love. You see, it's just like when there is love, there is also freedom. There is respect and freedom. It's not dependency. It's really so the teacher is is your friend and also your guide. He's your guide when you have a question that you need guidance with, and otherwise, just your friend in the absence of any question that requires to be contemplated. And there is love between the teacher and the student. And if you are going from teacher to teacher to teacher, and you're interested in spirituality as a topic, that's okay too. It's okay too. Uh, at some point in time, it's going to lead you to a deeper connection, where you don't go from flower to flower to flower to flower. You just stay around one fire. You stay around, one teacher. It's bound to happen. At the same time, in some cases, it may take uh, visiting many different teachers, and maybe having sometimes we also get into, as you were mentioning, like a spiritual community, that just goes around from teacher to teacher, teacher, and you enjoy that community, and that's okay too. It's enjoyable. It's lovely. But at some point in time, it has to start to reveal to you. Your journey has to start to reveal to you the reality of consciousness. It has to start to reveal to you the self. You see, it has to start dissolving this me impression. And that's when you're really starting to celebrate.
Yes, yes. Also, I wonder, I mean, because it's clear, at least for me, it's clear that when you have this kind of connection with someone as a teacher and you really trust this teacher, it's a recognition right there. It's a feeling, something that was happening
Mhm.
deep in the heart, that this
Yes,
is the one who is going to help
yes.
you.
A recognition, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But what about on the other side? I wonder, is there also in the teacher a recognition?
Um, eh, there may be, the teacher listens to all questions in the openness, just whatever question is arising is listened to. There are some questions that are being posed still from the person, about the person, and there are some questions that are being posed about truth, about consciousness, from an experience, from with an interest, with not a personal interest, with a passion for truth. See, uh, so both of these questions are valid questions because they represent the true question of that, let's say, that student. Yes. So, but the teacher can understands where this question, where question A is coming from, and where question B is coming from, and will address every question based on its uh, specific nature, let's say. Uh, so yes, there is a recognition from the teacher about, let's say, where how does the question need to be addressed, and the response of the teacher is appropriate to that question and is always perceiving the questioner as consciousness, as myself. So a teacher that perceives a student as a person does that because they still perceive themselves as a person. You as the teacher that is the self only perceives the self, and so recognizes everything and everybody as the self, posing questions from different places.
Very nice, yes, Magdi. I wonder if in this question that I was asking you, what I was kind of more or less thinking about is like if the teacher, yes, if he doesn't see a person, he doesn't see a person there, he just see the self. So can can he see some kind of maturity in that in that person or in that body organism or like in the expression of the on the questions?
The teacher can sense the love for truth that is in the question. Or some questions are just, maybe sometimes there are questions where people want to show how great their understanding is. Or some other questions, maybe they want to challenge the teacher. Or some other questions, people are looking for confirmation for an experience that they have.
Yes,
So the teacher can sense the love for truth in the question.
right, right. But always in the answer of the teacher, what is just the love I mean, behind the answer is just
Absolutely.
love,
Yes,
love for
absolutely.
the self.
Absolutely. Always, yes, absolutely.
So it doesn't make any difference for the teacher where
No,
the
but
question comes from.
right. But the answer may differ. For example, a teacher may answer one question by saying, uh, "Okay, listen, it doesn't seem that you really are interested in in truth. You're more interested in showing off how great you are as a person." So the answer may seem to be uh, maybe a reprimand, or may seem to be harsher, or seem to be trying to put the person down. But that's not the intention, because the teacher does not see a person, but it is still the answer to the question may be that, look, you love yourself as a person much more than you love the truth. Can you look at that? You see?
Yes, the person might see that whatever reprimand or whatever as kind of personal because
Yes,
he's seeing that in a personal way. But
correct.
from an absolute point of view, it is what it is needed in the moment
Right,
to try to get the person out of the the personhood, right? Out of this
right, right.
identity with the person, right?
Right, right. The teacher has no personal agenda. It's
Right.
only the agenda of the teacher, if you want to say, is love. It's just to is to be in this one kingdom of God together. Uh, to be in the celebration of our innate freedom and our innate beauty and our innate magnificence together.
Yes, to share that.
Yes, to share that and to celebrate that together, and to live that together, to recognize that together. You see?
So to cut all the gaps that are there interfering with the sharing of this absolute or happy, self.
Yeah,
Be
yeah.
like because the words can be like swords, huh? Cutting all these, the words
Yes.
could seem like swords,
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. They could. Sometimes they are like swords. Sometimes they are like very gentle and tender. It varies. You know. It varies. There isn't one way that uh, a question is answered or a question is looked at. Even the same question can be addressed in words, in various ways.
In your case, it's always well. What I when I heard you, it's more like loving, tender, and people kind of love that way. I mean, like the way you express yourself and to communicate is it feels like very loving, tender. That's probably because that's your nature. I don't know. There are other teachers who are more, more confronting the concept, confronting the ideas,
Mhm.
confronting the mind. In your case, it's more like
Yes,
loving.
yes,
Uh, Does,
yes.
does the teacher knows? I mean, when the question comes, there is an answer. Does the teacher knows what is he answering, or is just an answer that comes in the moment from somewhere, nowhere, or from?
The answer comes from the question, and comes from the listening, and comes from the absence of a teacher student. It comes from consciousness itself. It comes from the oneness, the oneness that we are. It doesn't come from any stored knowledge. It doesn't come from the mind. It comes from the absence, from from consciousness, from universal presence.
So it's always like a spontaneous answer
Yes,
because every time is a different moment,
yes,
uh, right?
absolutely.
Different question.
Although, as you were mentioning, various teachers have various personas, various ways of speaking, various tone of voice, various personality characteristics that the way they express. And of course, there are also traditions. There are teaching traditions. I, for one, don't teach from any tradition. I teach from a traditionalist, no tradition. Although I have gone through traditions, I think that the tradition is only a form for you. It's only a boat, a part of the boat to cross to the other shore. That you cannot maintain the tradition. I'm just mentioning that because, you know, in the Zen tradition there is a lot of answers that there's just cutting answers. They go straight to sort of trying to slay the ignorance in that moment, and oftentimes this sort of practice also leaves a residue and leaves a certain reaction in a certain trace.
Well, yeah, the tradition, if you follow a tradition, you kind of are kind of chained to that tradition, and you are not kind of free to I don't know, there is a certain way of talking that is more like chained to that tradition, right?
Right.
But if you are not on a tradition, you can use things from other traditions, or at least the quotes, you know, that the messages, the direct messages that these traditions have, and goes also to the heart of the
Yeah.
question, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. There are many various tools in all the different traditions that your teacher, you know, can use while they are free. They're speaking from the freedom. They're speaking from truth. But yes, they can. There are many tools that are very useful, pointers, ways of pointing. But ultimately, it is the living presence, the living revelation of the self that speaks. That is the teaching.
Yes, it
That's
is.
the source of the teaching, and that is the teaching itself.
And it has to be, how do you say, 24 by 7, something like that.
Yes, yes.
I mean, like, because if it is only, I mean, like in a retreat or in a satsang,
Yes, yes.
right? You go to your house and then something happen, and you are out of that. You are again into the entity getting mad and, you know, whatever, reacting.
Yes. Well, you know, Sahaja Samadhi, the ultimate, let's say, destination of the spiritual exploration, is the complete ending of the impression of personhood, the impression of separation, the complete ending of that, and the revelation of the self as the reality of everything, not just the reality of the world, body, mind, but the reality that is beyond the world, body, mind, and yet the reality of the world, body, mind.
Yes,
So it is a complete ending of the me impression.
like it was in the Zen, I think it's emptiness form. Form is emptiness. Like there is no
Yes,
a
yes,
dualistic. I mean,
right, right. Emptiness is form, and form is emptiness. But it's important to come to that understanding, so that it is you have a complete clarity about the significance of that.
and to live it,
Absolutely.
right? Because
Yes.
could be a good understanding at the mind level, and
Yes.
then your actions are totally
Mm-hmm.
totally apart from that
Mm-hmm.
understanding, right?
Mm-hmm. And you are living this understanding when the world has completely merged into the self.
Mhm. And
The world, but
that expresses itself in many ways, like a lack of fear, lack of worry, uh,
absolutely,
not being
absolutely,
in the past or in the future,
right.
living in the presence of the moment, acting according to what is present in the moment in a spontaneous way. All,
Yes, because
the mind is absent, it's not looking for, it's not calculating things.
right, there isn't a separate mind anymore.
Right. The mind is a tool, but it's not the one that where the answer comes from.
No,
The answer comes from deeper.
the answer and the question come from consciousness. The
Right.
question comes from consciousness, and the answer is consciousness, universal consciousness.
And what is it that, in your understanding, your experience so far as a teacher, what is that prevents the total merging, like total merging into the living of the understanding? It could be, I mean, it can be uh,
It's
understanding, realizing, but still it's not like emerging into it.
mhm,
I mean,
mhm,
I mean, matter or world and consciousness seems different. It's not like Ramana Maharshi used to say,
mhm,
if there is mind, there is world.
mhm. What's in the way of our full understanding and our the full revelation of the self is a lingering interest in our emotions, in our feelings.
Right. Uh-huh. Yeah. A residue of there is still something that uh, make you happy when things happen in the outside in the world, right? Like or make you sad, right?
Yes, yes, you
Uh,
still are interested in your feelings, in your emotions, and of course, therefore, in all what causes, in all the causality of those feelings and emotions, which is the world, body, mind. So there's still an interest in the world, body, mind, and the feelings and the emotions that come with it.
uh, it's like a sense that in the seeker it's like having one leg here and one leg
Yes,
there, right?
yes, correct.
And
Yes,
and they
yes.
want to be there. I mean, enlightened, and at the same time enjoying all the I mean, the living like before, but
Hmm.
now with a bigger understanding or realization, something like that, like
Hmm.
having the
Yeah,
two, right?
yes, yes. Like I love God, but also uh, I, uh, I want God to take care of me and my world and my fortune and my kids, and it's there is still an interest in the world, in the person, in their feelings, in their emotions. And
Yes. And
so the contemplation about the feeling level is, what am I? What is it that's perceiving those feelings? Is there something? Is there is there some aspect of myself that is completely free of those feelings, although these feelings are on board, because as long as you're interested in fixing the feelings or getting rid of them, you're still not turning your attention to that is completely free in the
mhm,
midst of the feeling state.
yes,
So that recognition is not available to you as long as you are still focusing on fixing the feeling or on getting rid of the feeling or fixing the thought or getting rid of the thought, which many practices, unfortunately, uh, they speak that way about getting rid of negative thought or whatever. It still uh, maintains you you're interested in God, you're interested in spirituality, but you're also in the world, in the mind, and trying to fix the world and trying to fix the mind.
Yes,
So
and
the
that
direct path, which is the Advaita, the direct path is to go directly to that which is untouched by
by
world body
by
mind defense.
anything that happens at the level of the world,
Yes,
and that means this body, this mind, and the entity built by thought, by memory, whatever, right? And
yes.
then you, the other persons around you, the other so-called persons, with feelings, with problems, everything that are seen in a different way because if you feel for your problems or your emotions or your feelings, then you're gonna feel also the same for the other person's emotions, feelings. So you are in a relationships at the mind body level, one here and one another, sharing, and this is called an empathy, but this is an empathy in the world. This is not a deep empathy of the deeper absolute consciousness.
Well, Gonzalo, blind cannot lead anyone, whether whether others are blind or not. Blind cannot lead a drowning man, a drowning person.
Yeah,
You can talk all sorts of things about other people on the shore or in the water. If you're the one drowning,
yes, yes.
uh, so it's
That's what is important in coming back to where you started answering about my question because those teachers, I don't know. I mean, I don't have a way to say that some teacher is totally awakened, totally realized. I don't have that way, right? But I assume that many of them are nice people. I mean, in the way that, well, they assume that they have an awakening, and then they can lead other people to realization, right? But
well,
this is the blind leading the
uh,
blind also,
you
because
know,
if you don't have the total understanding,
yeah.
you're still blind.
You see, the a teacher who has a realization of the self and still is a teacher, then is then is still there is still more to go, because there is a further revelation that ends the teacher. So the teacher is, you can perceive a teacher, but the teacher does not perceive a teacher, does not
So,
perceive students. So
oh,
that's very important.
that's very important because I mean, in general, okay, people, the seekers, see someone, example, like you, as a teacher, and maybe there is a belief there that you are looking then as students, you or other teacher. I don't mean only you,
No, I
but
understand.
there is this
Yes,
I am his
yes,
student, he's my
right.
teacher, right? Something like that.
But a teacher will take a student beyond that, because the teacher is not a teacher, does not perceive themselves as a teacher, does not experience themselves as a teacher, do not perceive the student as a student, does not perceive a student, only perceives consciousness. So if you stay around a teacher that is teaching as that except if you really close your ears and close your mind, if you stay around a teacher, you're going to come to that understanding that takes you beyond you being a student and beyond perceiving the teacher as a teacher. This does not mean that you still do not honor and respect and love the self is in and as a teacher, but in and as yourself, your very self.
Right.
Because consciousness is not personal, it's universal. All body minds operate through this consciousness, this one consciousness.
But the mistake is on the part of the one who goes to the teacher and he sees you or any other as a teacher, even if the teacher doesn't see him as a student. So he might keep this position of being a student and
Yes.
having a teacher.
But in time, it will dissolve. In time, around this teacher, it will dissolve. You
Will,
cannot maintain around the teacher long enough this I am your student, I am your student, and the teacher is sharing the universality of consciousness, the reality and universality of consciousness. At some point in time, that understanding, to a certain degree, is going to start to come to you. And when it comes to you, it's going to transform you.
uh, does,
It
does
may
it happen?
take a while. It varies, from student to student. It varies the journey, what has been the journey of this particular person. So you follow some teachers, some students come within a year. They have gotten a great understanding and a shift in their entire body mind space. Some others slower, some others faster, etc. But that doesn't matter. It's these are circumstances.
Yes, but does it mean that for that to happen, it has to be a dissolving of the entity, or it could happen before the dissolving of the
No,
entity?
it happens in various insights. It's not just one insight. There is,
Okay.
of course, there is always this one insight that stands above other insights, where you sort of you recollect a feeling, for example, like, oh, I am everything, for example, or experiencing um, or experiencing I am not a body, not a body mind. There may be some experiences that are more higher peak experiences, and the mind sort of recollects them, more likely. But there are many smaller insights that are equally important.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. On the road to total understanding or
Yes,
dissolving of the entity.
absolutely. We want to come to happiness, a lasting, eternal happiness, not just maybe a bump every now and then, but overall, peace and happiness across the board.
Yes. Maggie, thank you very much
Okay,
for
Gonzalo.
your
Okay,
comment on this,
beautiful.
and leave some time for the other people because I am taking the whole
It's okay. I'm
time.
sure. We always ask everybody's questions. Thank you, Gonzalo. Nice
Thank you.
to see you. Okay. Hello, Ananda. You asked a question, Ananda. Um, okay. Let me read the first. Only those who have the open ears can hear, even if the teaching is superlative. I had great input, including from Jean Klein, and got various gifts from them. I'm happy to be having the learning experience I'm having now. Yes. I find that most of my close friends are significantly illumined. People tend to take on a persona of teacher when almost everyone they relate with has ways to go before they will share the spiritual understanding. My point is, I enjoy the society of knowers of truth the best, even if I have a primary go-to source for wisdom, for true love, for satsang. Well, that's very nice, Ananda.
So
I didn't
really
see a question, but that's nice.
I enjoyed the the whole conversation with Gonzalo there.
Yes.
So many interesting points came out, and thank you, Gonzalo, also. And
Welcome, Michael.
and I just have this sense that the thing that Gonzalo started with, going to different teachers. I mean, I go to see my friend Ted. I'm thinking I might drive up to Shasta and spend some time with him, for example. In the near future, I have a little space. I have my friend Krishna travels around the world giving satsang, and he comes by and he doesn't drive. He has a physical limitation, and I drive him around sometimes, and we visit ashrams, and we just have a fun time. So I like this society of people who, as far as I can tell, know that we're the same, know that there's one being.
Yes.
And sometimes I think, sometimes I imagine a community I'd like to live in, and I think these are the people I'd like in my little community. I mean, that's what would be the most fun, so to speak.
Yes.
So I just wonder if there's any relationship between that scenario and what you talk about, having one teacher and being focused, to not be diluted, I guess, and diluted in looking at things in different ways.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, one more caveat. Well, one of the things to say is that almost everybody that I feel this way about, including even Francis Lucille, even though I haven't seen him in years, but I've seen his satsangs, and they're coming from the same sort of basically Advaita Vedanta direction. So it's not like I'm getting different
I understand.
influences, drastically different.
Yeah. So you can enjoy the society or the community, the spiritual society and community. I'm going to mute your mic. It might be. I muted your mic because of the echo, but you can unmute it anytime you would like. So you may enjoy the spiritual community, or as your words, you said, the society, the spiritual society, and at the same time, be attracted to a teacher and working with a teacher and bringing your question to your teacher friend and exploring deeper and deeper into your questions with or whatever questions arise for you with your main teacher friend. This does not mean that on occasions you may not also be with in the company of other truth lovers and even people who are sharing their understanding and even contemplating with them some of your questions. But there is a certain tendency at the mind level to collect. We go for a walk on the beach, and after we walk for 10 minutes, then we have 10 or 20 shells and little stones, and we have a tendency at the mind level to collect stuff. And until you are relatively stable in the revelation of the self, that tendency of the mind is still there. It still has some juice in it. And it calls you into the mind. It sort of personalizes the impersonal. So and the tendency of the mind is to perceive me and another. And in that relating with various teachers, various friends, you have to watch this me and the other tendency. And of course, with your teacher friend, similarly. But with your teacher will not entertain a me and you relationship. It's not possible for the teacher to entertain a me and you relationship. It's just strictly consciousness being itself in all forms and in all ways and in all conversations. Your journey inevitably is going to take you to your Sadguru.
What was the word? Take you to?
To your Sadguru.
Oh.
To the ending of your journey.
Well, I can say this. I feel like saying this that the people that I'm referring to, I do have that sense that you're talking about. That it's when I'm sharing with you, it's like really no self and other involved, and I don't know. It's a really special thing because anybody else that I know, you know, that I go and hang out with, it's like there's almost a giddy recognition that we're the same, and that's like a spiritual high almost, but not the settled thing. It's just one, you know. It's just this. I don't know, and it's peculiar to me why that would be. You know, when somebody can be eloquent about the reality of I am, you know, they can talk on any subject and be clear, and yet there's that subtle thing that yes, I go visit them and they're them and I'm me. Maybe we fall into a reverie where that's not the case, but I think so. So I'm drawn to the place or places or place where complete freedom is the thing, is what I'm drawn to. And what can I say except I feel it more, I feel it in this rapport, I feel it fantastically.
But the place of complete freedom is the no place of presence, the no place of the self, the placeless place of the self.
Mm-hmm.
The place of freedom has to be here and now, because what do we care about the place of freedom that is tomorrow or that is somewhere else? Really, I mean, okay, it's interesting as a story, but in terms of experientially, in terms of truth, the place of freedom has to be here and now, and has to be I. It has to be myself. It has to be my full experience of I am that. You see. So, what is it right now? What is it right now in this very moment that is whole and complete, if not the self? So the contemplation is of the wholeness of being right now. totality of being right now. That the knowingness, the beingness, the I amness, that has no gender. That's not male or female. It's not a me or a you. It's just isness. It's the magnificence of being. And that, you can call it Magni, you can call it Ananda, you can call it Gonzalo, you can call it anything. It doesn't matter what you call it. Because it's really, its name is no name. Its name is all names. Its name is galaxies, its name is electrons, its name is light, its name is bird, its name is Magni, its name is Gonzalo. It has all names and no name. That recognition, we don't need to go anywhere or do anything to come to that or to be that. Because if you have to take one step, that's one step too many. Because what if it's the wrong step? Oh my God, I took the wrong step. Well, where is the right step? No, because the step still takes time. The step still takes time.
Like your example of the ocean. So, one more. I just want a couple more shells. And I sometimes do this. I go for a walk and I don't even notice that ocean. Don't even notice the ocean, which is why I came, why I went. Because anyway.
The ocean of being, yes?
Yes,
okay.
The ocean of being is.
Yes.
I'm just making an example of the.
Yeah. Noticing the ocean is not like noticing an experience or noticing a feeling or noticing an event. It is the self knowing itself. So your attention is to the source, so it's the source turning its attention to itself. So as soon as you're interested in the source, you're interested in the ocean, you're interested in truth, you have already turned your attention to truth, and you are experiencing it. So you recognize that your interest for truth comes from truth and carries the imprint of truth. Your interest carries the imprint of truth. You don't need to notice the ocean because you just said, I don't notice the ocean. So you just created a problem, but the mind is creating this problem. Just be interested in the truth because that's what you love, but don't add time and space to it. Don't add conditions of time and space. Just your interest comes from the eternity and is interested in the eternity. Comes from the eternal to the eternal. You follow? Not to invite the mind to be the guide. The mind can come to just celebrate, enjoy, and wag their tail.
And what?
Wag the tail? Wag their tail?
Yeah, happy. Just happy.
Wag the tail.
So you have. I noticed earlier today when you said Magadi, you have the G gets a little A on it. Magadi.
Oh, okay.
And Wagadi. and that's why I didn't catch the word.
Oh, okay.
So just something that I'd like to ask. Here's an example of something of a kind of like a concern. That is, this job is incredible. It's like I've applied to be on the nuclear proliferation panel or something, the kind of background check for this Catholic corporation for this job. Almost unbelievable, and it's still going on. And even Sunny I notice there's a sense of stress over that, and it's like I'm just about ready to because they keep coming up with one more thing. Now you have to have vaccinations. Okay, we're just about all done. We require that you're vaccinated against these things to work for us. And I say, I've been in the health field for 30 years. I don't have any vaccination, and it was always my choice, for example. So I'm just about ready to let it go. But the point of my question is, you talk about there's no need for negative feelings. There's really no need for stress, for feeling, because it's coming out of a wrong identification always. That sense of oppression or something. So there seems like two ways to deal. One way of dealing with it is contemplating the self and saying, you know what, where is that whole issue? Where is the problem? And another one is saying my involvement with this is not necessary. It's not, taking everything into account, my ongoing involvement with this is not necessary. They're like two ways of quelling that.
Well, you doesn't help to deny what you are feeling, what's happening for you. You see, so you don't want to get into some sort of mind games about it. So you're feeling stressed, anxious, whatever the adjective, it doesn't matter, but there is a certain emotion that's arising. So you recognize that, and you don't try to do any mind trickery or consciousness trickery, around this. But it's important to understand the process that is on board, that is making you, that is leading to this unhappy emotion. So that's an important contemplation. What's happening? What is going on? So, as a general rule, because we've visited that many times, we know that there is some identification somewhere in the space.
Yes. No question about that.
Right. So we look at that, like, there is some me, and there are some thoughts around me. What's going to happen to me? Why is this happening to me? Oh, I've already gone through that. This shouldn't be happening to me. It's so just to sort of notice the me identity, this consciousness as a person, as me, with all the thoughts that are churning around me and them, and what I've done and what I did and who are they, etc. To notice that. At the same time, there are some ridiculous demands that people may be making. I'm not talking particularly in your specific example, but in general, there may be some really weird, crazy demands that are being made upon this in my job or in my relationships or whatever.
Yes.
And they're unbearable, they're unhappy, and they're unacceptable. They're not considerate, they're violating the respecting each other, or they're not giving you the same considerations that they're giving themselves, etc. They may not be fair. And so you look at those and you say, wait a minute, that is not consonant. There is some
Mhm.
dissonance here,
Yes.
and I don't want to go deeper down that route.
Yeah. Right.
So you recognize not just the me, the me quality, but you also look at the entire situation,
Mhm.
and they may be in the situation very reasonable causes
Mhm.
for the unhappiness.
I
And
see.
so at that point, you, upon understanding the situation,
Mhm.
and upon understanding how it's taking you into the me and them,
Mhm. Mhm.
and that's not what you want to live, you
Mhm.
say, wait a minute, I relate from a different space.
Mhm.
I relate, you know, out of a more global, more
Mhm.
considerate, more respectful way. And I don't want to go deep down that road with you. Or
Mhm.
you may decide that, wait a minute, it's no big deal. I can cope with it because there's a lot of money they're offering me. I can take those few hours a week with them, collect the mullah, and enjoy my. So it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
because what you truly are is beyond all of that. But at the same time, you are involved in this to
Mhm.
manage it any
Mhm.
way you like. Any way
Right.
you like. You can go deeper down the rabbit hole and experience the unhappiness, or you can just take it whichever way you want. So
Right.
you
Yeah.
have the complete freedom to act in and to take it whichever way you want. But to say, well, I am consciousness and all of that is insignificant, I'm going to just remain as consciousness, that is not playing the game. That
Mhm.
is talking the talk, but not walking the walk.
Mhm. Mhm. Right. In other, I think I see what you're saying. The real thing. Is my voice okay now?
Yes.
The real thing is being aware, being conscious, and seeing where does it work, doesn't it work, and not a reactive stance.
Yeah.
Not a.
Yeah. I mean, you can sense in your body mind, in the relationship, if the relationship is a happy, growing, opening, flowering, blooming relationship, or if the relationship is just adding, piling the dung. It's like, wait a minute. that one pile is good enough. I'm out
What's
of it.
that?
One
What is
pile
good
is
enough?
one pile is good enough.
One pint?
One pile.
Oh, 1 pile. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like no
Yes,
thanks.
yes, right.
Yeah.
This is talking generally.
Yeah.
Specifically, you have to be looking specifically at the specific details of the
Yeah.
situation. But you know, when you are loving truth, when you are living your love for truth, you're going to the highest level. You're living at the
Mm-hmm.
highest level. And when
Mm-hmm.
you apply in your life
Mm-hmm.
your revelation, your understanding of truth, you
Mm-hmm.
are living at the highest level.
I see.
And you are in in God's mudroom. You are at God has opened their castle, and now you are stepping in God's
Yeah.
mudroom. You see, you know, only goodies are going to happen to you, because once God opens the door for you, they're
Yeah.
never going to kick you out. There is no way. Yes, that's the devil's doing. God
I
doesn't
see.
do stuff like that. You're in.
Right, right. That's great.
Yes, yes. So it's just
Mm.
it's just more and more
I see.
joy, peace, love, and happiness, and
Mhm.
abundance, and just be open to that and live as that, from that place, from that, not from me and them and the fear what's going to
Mm.
happen to me and what
Mm.
will not happen to
That's
me and all of that.
beautiful. Yeah, that's beautiful. And just one last thing, one thing to say is this brings us back to the subject of the teacher relationship and stuff. It's like, I know I've heard slokas or verses that say, once the lion of the the guru has I don't know. Well, there's different ones. Once he's got your head in his mouth, you're saved. or just once
Yes.
once you recognize that he recognizes who you really are.
Absolutely.
You know who you are. There's really no. It's the mudroom.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
absolutely. Because the recognition is the recognition of what I am. There is only one I amness, one beingness.
mm-hmm.
And that recognition
Mm-hmm. I could look back at the. I can watch this again, but when you said when you're contemplating truth and you're coming from the highest, your point there was you're not actually in them. You're in the mud. You're in, I don't know. I don't know what you said there. But.
Well, when you turn your attention to truth, when you love God, when you love truth, when you contemplate reality, you go beyond the entire realm of the mind. You are at a different level of
I see.
than at the mind level. And everything rises to that level. You see, that level doesn't go down to the mind.
Everything
rises to that level. Yes,
it's included. Yes, I see.
It rises to that level. So when you love truth and you live your love for truth, that's like bingo. I mean, there is no higher way of living and being than living and being your love for truth.
Right.
And everything effortlessly is going to rise to that, rises to you as that, to that. Everything rises to its reality, to its source. Everything refers to the source. And so all the world body mind experiences that you are having at the mind level rise through your love for truth. They rise through your love for truth to celebrate your love for truth, because the world body mind is not separate from consciousness. When your attention is towards consciousness, the whole world body mind rises to celebrate the majesty and the magnificence of consciousness.
Right, like you said, why not? Why would you have other than happy dreams, or why?
Effortlessly, then the dreams are happy, because in your contemplation of the self, you are contemplating this belief that I am this mortal separate being. And as you contemplate this belief, you find that this belief is strictly made out of thoughts, inherited thoughts, and sensations. And you recognize that there is a beyond these thoughts and sensations. There is a knowingness, there is a presence, there is consciousness that knows every thought, knows every sensation. Without the knowing consciousness, what is a thought? What is a sensation? So in your contemplation of truth, you come to that which is beyond the world body mind events, and which is the source of all world body mind events. And the sense of separate self then is released into into the infinity and the eternity of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And your dreams, which were unhappy because there was a lion chasing you, are no longer unhappy. They are happy because there is no you, and the lion is just, yawning and looking for his lioness.
Yes. Mm-hmm. This thing that the big evil healthcare corporation is now a dream phenomenon. That doesn't mean that if I work for them I don't do a good job. But
Absolutely, yes.
But
Yes.
it's not up to
Yeah,
that level.
absolutely. It's at the
It's
mind.
within.
It's at the mind level, and it's not a problem. We do at the mind level. We do what the mind does. Mind does this, fails at this. This works. Or now we learn from that. We apply our learning to this situation. But it's okay. It's at the mind level, and at the mind level, there are mind level operations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Great.
But what I am, that is not at any level. That is the universal being, you see.
Yeah.
And that never comes and goes.
Right.
Okay, Ananda, beautiful talking with you.
Thanks.
Yes, yes. So just take a minute to see if there is anybody else who has a question.
Hi, just wondering, how can you know if you're making progress? I don't know if this is an irritating question, but before you said some people learn very fast, some people learn very slow. But sometimes I feel like I'm going around in circles where I realize something and then I forget and do the opposite. And then after 10 years or 5 years, I again realize it. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You know, Minachi, every time that you understand something, it changes you. Understanding operates at a level that is not at the mind level. When you understand, you're working on a problem, you're working on a problem, you're working on a problem, the mind is looking at this, looking at that, and at some point, there's one piece of information, one more piece of information that comes to you, and you understand the problem, you got the solution to the problem, that has shifted you, that has changed, that question, that problem has been understood. So there is a shift that is not at the mind level. The mind is only used before to gather information, to bring this piece of information, that piece of information, to look into that additional piece of data, etc., to bring all the pieces together. And then when that additional piece, that missing piece of the puzzle comes, boom, the mind has done its job, dissolves, and its consciousness is direct understanding. So understanding is an experience of consciousness knowing itself. Now, the mind will then, post understanding, will come and say, I have understood so and so and so and so, and will appropriate this non-mind event and turn it into a mind event and say, okay, I've understood so and will store it as a story and as a sensation in its memory bank, meaning it will rehash it and make a story out of it. So the answer to your question is, first, understanding is not at the mind level. you need to trust and recognize that when there is an understanding, there is a direct experience of beyond. It is not a mind experience. And you need to trust that that revelation, that understanding, does not need to be cumulative. Now, of course, now there are understandings like 2 + 2 = 4, and there are understandings that relate to consciousness. There are understandings about how a car functions, how an engine of a car functions. There are all sorts of information, for example, about biology, but there is an understanding that results from your contemplation of the self, your contemplation of consciousness. When you turn your attention to consciousness, when you contemplate, what am I truly? Who am I? Am I a woman? Am I a person? Am I something that exists in time and space? Or does the impression of time and space arise in me? Am I something that arises, or am I that which experiences all that arises? Am I that which experiences thoughts, sensations, perceptions? Or am I an object in time and space? This sort of contemplation is going to lead you to an understanding of truth, about truth, which means an understanding about truth is a revelation of truth, is a revelation about consciousness that is not just a thinking process which is at the mind level. It is beyond the mind. So be watchful of the stories that you make about yourself, about your spiritual experiences, about your progress or lack of progress, about your speed of progress or lack of speed of progress. Be watchful of these stories because they're all a hoax. They're distractions away. It's the mind trying to rob consciousness and bring it to its mind level, which is, of course, impossible to do. But when you're interested in the mind, and you're interested in your stories about yourself, in your progress, then those stories of the mind seem to be real and seem to be interesting. So the revelation of the self is not cumulative. The revelation of the self is not in time and space.
Okay. I think what you're saying, I think what you're trying to say to me is like, oh, it's not cumulative. I thought you were trying to say that even though my mind cannot see the progress, there is really progress being made at a conscious level.
How can that which is perfection itself become more perfect? How
So
can
is a revelation to the mind then, or who's, if the conscious already knows, then who's getting the revelation?
consciousness knows itself and chooses to forget itself by playing the game of being a woman or being a man that needs to know itself. So that's the game of consciousness. It is consciousness that forgets itself and becomes a woman that is living in time and space. At the same time, it is consciousness that arises into the woman's dream and tells this woman, hey, are you really a woman or are you I? Are you really a body-mind experience or are you consciousness? So you start to wonder, wait a minute, am I this woman that's growing in time and space, that's living, that's born, that's going to die? Or am I consciousness? Am I conscious right now? What is consciousness? Consciousness is knowingness, is presence. Well, I am knowingness. I am presence. Wait a minute. Could it be that I am consciousness? No, no, I cannot be. I'm born in 19 so and so. I cannot be consciousness. But wait, but then what is consciousness? What is it that is conscious? The tree is not conscious. The chair is not conscious. I am consciousness. Then I must be consciousness. Oh, I am consciousness. Well, then, but I know I'm born. I know I'm born, but is consciousness born? No, consciousness cannot be born. So how could I be born and at the same time be the unborn? So you start contemplating all these questions. And it is all consciousness's game and consciousness invitation for you to...
Sorry, this is one more irritating question. So the questions those questions you mentioned, you're saying that's consciousness that's asking, not the mind.
Absolutely. The consciousness uses the mind to, for example, right now, consciousness is using the mind to have this conversation.
But how do you know it's consciousness and
Oh,
not the mind? I'm sorry if it's
very
very
good question.
irritating. Yeah.
Very good question. Very good question. So right now, are you conscious?
Yeah, yes, I'm conscious.
Can you ask yourself the following question? What is it right now that is conscious? Would you consider my input that it is consciousness that is conscious?
Because there's no reason for the mind to know about conscious, is what
Wait,
you
no,
said.
no. The question was a very simple question. Are you conscious? Yes, I am. What is it that is conscious? You said that I am conscious, right?
Yes.
I am conscious.
Yes.
So the question is, okay, what is it that is conscious? What is it that is conscious? You said I, yes?
Yeah.
I am conscious. What is this I that is conscious? It's just a question that you can look at.
Something is conscious, but I don't know where to go from there.
Yeah, but you know that I am conscious. Yes?
Yes.
So there is something that is conscious. Can we call the something that is conscious, can we call it consciousness?
Yes.
So can we say that I/consciousness
Yes. Yes.
am conscious?
Yes. Okay. Then how do we separate mind then? What is that which is not?
It depends what you mean by mind. You see,
Yes.
by mind, for example, I refer to thought.
Okay.
For example, the thought, I love my mother.
Yes.
So there is a thought right now, I love my mother. Okay, it's a thought. We refer to it as mind. It's an example of a mind, yes?
Yes.
Now, this thought, I love my mother, arises and is perceived, is known. Because if this thought, I love my mother, was not perceived, there would be no such thought. You agree?
There is a thought.
If the thought is not perceived, it is
Okay.
because I perceive the thought that I say, oh, I love my mother.
Yeah.
There has to be something that perceives the thought. Or a tree. How about an oak tree? You say, here is an oak tree, but there is something that perceives this oak tree that says, oh, here is an oak tree.
But it's the I consciousness that's generating those thoughts.
Well, wait a minute. We haven't gotten there yet. All we were saying is that you ask, well, how do you separate the mind?
Yes.
And so we're looking that the mind is something that arises in consciousness.
Okay.
Like for example, in your night dream, okay, when you're not dreaming at night, you
Okay.
dream of a butterfly, yes?
Yes.
The butterfly is a night mind event, or we refer to it as a dream event
Okay.
that arises in you.
Okay.
It arises in you. And so you wake up in the morning, you say, oh, I dreamt of a beautiful butterfly. It was purple and had little yellow dots on the wings. It's so beautiful, so magnificent, yes?
Okay.
Because there was consciousness that perceived this butterfly. Because if there was a butterfly without consciousness, what I dreamt, but there is nothing. I dreamt of nothing. Okay, well, then you're just being consciousness without a dream, without an object.
Okay.
But I'm
Yes.
coming back to your question, and how do you separate the mind from consciousness? Mind is an object, an appearance in consciousness.
Okay.
So the mind, meaning the thought, can come and go.
Okay.
Because next thought is, I hate my neighbor's dog.
Okay.
The thought, I love my mother, is gone.
Okay.
Now the new thought is, I hate my neighbor's dog.
Okay.
So the mind is constantly changing.
Okay.
But consciousness that perceived the thought, I love my mother, is the same consciousness that's perceiving, I hate my neighbor's dog.
Okay.
Consciousness does not change.
Okay.
The images, the mind is constantly changing. It's like you sit in a movie, you're in the movie theater, you're sitting there, you're the same person, but then you watch horses, then you watch dogs, and you watch the ocean, or whatever images are arising on the screen are the mind. And consciousness is the reality that perceives the reality, the real knowingness, let's say, that does not
I understand.
come and go.
Yeah, very, very good. Yeah, I understand.
So when we refer to I see the tree. The mistake we make is that we imagine that we forget that the I is consciousness, and we say the I is the mind. No, the I is not the mind. The mind is what is perceived. I is consciousness.
Okay. Okay. So thought is just like a sense, like you smell is a sense, a thought is a
Yeah.
sense.
Sure, there are thoughts, there are bodily sensations, there are worldly perceptions, right?
Yeah,
All these are rising on the screen,
okay,
but consciousness does not arise on the screen.
okay,
When you're sitting in the movie theater, you're not on the screen.
okay, okay,
So the first understanding that's important to arrive at is that I means consciousness.
okay,
This is the first understanding. This is when your true spiritual journey starts.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, we can continue that. Well, thank you all for your very lovely company. Nice to be with you all. And we'll see you, I think, on Thursday, on Sunday. Yes. Okay. Goodbye, everybody. Gonzalo and Martin and Minachi and all friends and Nikki.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Maggie.
Okay. Thank you. See you.
Thank
See you,
you.
Gonzalo.
Thank you.